Hello, today I have decided to show you one very interesting game, and let me tell you a little bit more about this game. It was played a very long time ago in the 1990 when I was a very young boy, and I was playing, I think, my first national championship. My opponent was one of the best juniors at the time, Berovski. And I have decided to show this game not because the quality is extra high, but because I think this is one of the craziest games I have played, and even after so many years, I still remember this game and how exciting it was, especially to play it. So let's take a look. E4, C5. At this time, my opening knowledge was not so great. Against Sicilian, I knew some lines in close Sicilian, but without going into much details. So I went knight c3, knight c6, g3, g6, bishop g2. Okay, so here he went d6, bishop e3, d6, and now I have decided to play the move queen d2, because I have seen, I guess, the idea that the bishop could go to h6. So now one of the lines for black is knight e7, after which you can play bishop h6 and try to attack with h-pawn, h4, h5, castle queenside. But when my opponent played knight d4, I was not sure now what to do. Actually here I think the best move is knight to d1, and then you just played c3 and d4 with the tempo. But I went h4, and he went h5, and now my attack was already almost finished, because now clearly the bishop will not go to h6. And then what to do? Still, I guess I haven't thought about this move knight d1, so I went knight e2, he went knight e7, and of course now I can castle kingside. Maybe this is simply the best move, but I have decided to follow my original plan to castle queenside. And okay, I thought if he castles, maybe I can go bishop h6 and then to prepare some g4 and try to open the king side. But he has played a very good move, actually maybe the best move, rook to b8, keeping the king in the middle. And now how to continue with my attack? I was not so sure what to do on the king side. So I went f4, which in general is not a very good idea. When you play h4 and f4, you give away the square g4, but since his knight is not on f6, he cannot jump on g4. I thought maybe later I can somehow play f5 and sacrifice some pawns and create something. He went now b5. And okay, from here already there are no any pawn moves. And I went rook f1, and from here it seems like black has a big advantage, because his attack is very easy and very fast. Now probably the best move was bishop takes d4 in order to close the big diagonal, but I went knight d1, and now black is probably almost winning. He took on e2, he could have played first queen f5 as well. And actually from here starts the party, queen f5. So I think now I should have played f5 immediately, but I went king b1, unaware of what is going on. I thought now, okay, more or less everything is under control, because I'm defending all the pawns. But after rook b6, I realized that I'm in big trouble. And here with my 14.5 years brain, I should have think something, some possibilities how to stay in the game. I was looking at the moves like bishop c1 and then a3, maybe bishop d2 and a3, but quickly I realized that there is no point to try to defend, and the only thing what I can do is to try to counterattack. So I have pushed f5, maybe hoping that something will happen, because clearly now it looks like black has too many options. He can take the pawn, maybe he can move the bishop to e5, maybe rook a6. And I thought, okay, this is my only chance to create something. And I was unaware how exciting the game will be from this moment. Fortunately, my opponent couldn't find the best moves now. He took, by the way, this is still the best move, took with the e-pawn. I also took on f5, and now, of course, after rook a6, I will play f6. So even if he takes the pawn on a2, I will go king c1, and then he has one more check. But with f6, of course, I want to win the piece. So here, after g takes f5, black has a totally winning position. But maybe my opponent was concerned about to keep his pawn structure, so he decided to take with the bishop. He thought maybe that this is still the same. And my idea was, actually, when I sacrificed the f-pawn, to open the e-file. So now if I go bishop g5, he can play bishop to e6. That's why I thought that I have to sacrifice, which is actually the best move. And now, next move, I go bishop g5. So here he has a chance. Of course, he can take with the knight, but then I can take on c5 with check, and maybe then to take the rook. He took with the pawn, and in this moment, white is with the exchange and pawn down. Rook a6 seems like a big threat. Black wants to take on a2 and then on b2 with the bishop. But I was reasonably happy here because I found that after bishop g5, first of all, now I want to checkmate, so there is no time for rook a6, and if he plays f6, of course he will close the bishop. I can simply play rook e1 maybe to attack on e7. That's why the only move is bishop to e5. And here the least what white can do is to take on e7, and if king d7 to play knight e3, and then maybe knight d5 check, or bishop d5 to defend on a2. So already I was at least happy that I have this resource to move the bishop to d5 in many occasions, then to defend on a2, and okay, even if I'm exchanged down, if I can defend my king, the black king is not so safe, so there are good chances that the white attack could be very strong. Now I went queen f3, trying to create something with a queen on the diagonal. And he played rook a6. Now queen d5 is not possible, so white has to take, which now gives, of course, black a chance to take. He could have done this. Now, of course, king c1 is the only move. And my idea was that even if he takes here now, I can just play queen b7 check. And then I have with a tempo bishop d5. Let's say if he goes now to the f-file, there will be bishop d5. That was my calculation. Bishop d5 is attacking the queen, the rook is under attack, the f7 is hanging, so this should be good for white. That's why black took the bishop. And this is the first move for the king. And I don't remember how many moves in this game will make this king, but it will be plenty of moves. So now queen b7 check. And probably king d8 was the safest move for black, but he thought that he can go to f6, which is of course a big mistake, because now clearly after bishop d5, white has a very strong attack. So black thought that he can protect on f7, and then there is no check, so more or less everything is under control. Now he wants to play maybe queen to b6 to try to exchange the queens, but after knight e3 there is a pressure on the pawn on f5 as well. There could be some ideas with bishop c4 and knight d5 check. So white already is having, I think, a very, very strong attack. Black is playing f4. And here I was already quite optimistic. I felt that it should be almost winning for white. because my king is safe and this king is in big danger. I was wondering between rook f1 and pawn take, but in the end I decided to take, which I think is the best move. Pawn takes. Now if he takes, of course I can play rook f1 and then probably he will be losing the bishop. So he has to play bishop d4. And here I have missed the best move, which was bishop to c4. And then, yes, the idea is to, of course, attack the rook. And if he takes the knight, also knight d5 is a very strong threat, even queen e4. And if black simply takes, white has to play queen to d5. This was the move maybe which I have missed. I was looking only bishop a6. And then queen g5 is coming, which is difficult to defend because the rook has to defend f7 and rook f1, rook e1. The queen and the rook actually are out of the game. But I was tempted from another very beautiful move, which proved to be also good. Knight f5. A knight sacrifice, and the idea is, of course, queen e7 check. So the only move is king f5. And now my idea was to bring the queen to e7. That's why I gave the knight. So when the king moves, the queen can go to e7. And I thought here there should be a checkmate because now queen g5 is coming. And if bishop f6, of course, queen e4 is a checkmate. So the only move is queen d8, which is actually, of course, a good move. And then queen g5 is not possible. So I have to give check from e4. Queen e4 is simply losing because king f6. So I went bishop e4 check. And in my calculation, when I gave the knight, I thought that there should be something. Because I'm a rook down, and the king obviously has to go to f4 and g4, and then I can maybe bring the rook. But actually here, maybe black can survive. I guess queen f4 was the best move, but king g4 is also not such a bad move. And now, since there is no check from g5, and there is no check from g1, it seems like white is doomed, and there is nothing. He's about to lose the game. But still, I have found some way to move my queen to b7. Now attacking the rook, but of course the main idea is to go to d5 and then to try to go to f5. So here it's a bit tricky for black because he can of course move the rook like he did. He can also sacrifice the rook, and then it's some crazy position in which everything is possible. He has played rook b6, which was, I think, a big mistake. Maybe d5 or f5 was much better, and then black has advantage. But after rook b6, now suddenly queen d5, and already now white is winning. He has played queen f6, and he thought that he's defending everything, because once again g5 and g1 is protected. And if bishop f3, maybe simply he can bring the king to g3. But now, if you remember a few moves ago, white has sacrificed the knight on f5. Now it is time to sacrifice the bishop on f5. And now white should be winning. Black has to take. Queen g2, check. King f4. So the king went to f4, and maybe most of you think that now the game is going to finish in a few moves, but actually the game has prolonged for, I don't know, maybe 30 more moves, and this is the first time when the king is on f4. After this the king went back to f8 almost, then once again he went to f4, where finally he met his destiny. But here, this is how the game should have ended. Now the best move was queen h2 check, and now black is a checkmate because if king e3, rook e1 check is coming, and then rook to f1, And if king to g4, then queen h3, and of course now rook f1 check, and then black is about to be checkmated. So that should have happened, but since there are so many checks, and like I mentioned, I was not so experienced player here, now I was tempted to play rook f1, which in the end I did. This is of course a mistake. Queen h2 was winning. And after rook f1, there are many more moves. The most important is that first, of course, he went here. Now, I saw that rook f5 is not doing anything because he has plenty of pieces who are defended, and there is no chance that the queen can capture anything special, maybe only this pawn. But then the maximum which I can hope is to give a perpetual draw, which was not enough. I wanted to win. So I went queen g7 check. Unfortunately now, after king e6, my queen is hanging. And after queen h6, queen g6 here, white is simply a piece down. So of course black has a winning position. Now the rest of the game is not so important, but I will show you extremely quickly for those who want to see the end. Eventually, here, this is, like I said, the situation in which the king went back to f8. And now after a few moves, you will see here already black, of course, is playing for a win. And once again, his king went to f4. So that's why I still remember this game, because I don't know if there is a game in which the king can go such a journey around the world, not only one, but 2 times. Now, by the way, queen d1 was the best move, and then with the idea rook f1. I think white was winning in this case, but I went rook d1, and after queen f3, black still has advantage, but eventually I have found queen d2, and now I have some small threats. Still there is nothing for white, but at least you can imagine this is already move 50. The game was played for maybe 4 or 5 hours. There was a time trouble, excitement, because the evaluation is changing all the time. Sometimes white is winning, then black is winning. So this is full of drama. And after rook c5, I saw that everything is defended. So let's push the h-pawn to create some additional pressure now, because now maybe h6 and suddenly this pawn could be very dangerous. Of course, here black should have played something like king f5 and then king g6, but he decided to take the pawn, and finally there was no way to miss now the win, because after king f5, rook f1, it's already very easy, because I have only one possibility. In the previous lines, I was distracted sometimes from other lines which seems to be winning, but when you have only one line, you play it. Now queen f6, and now I saw that I have queen f3, and I have also queen e6, and again I started to hesitate now. Should I play queen f3? Maybe after queen f3, okay, he has to go king g5, and I take the bishop, and he plays queen g4, and then I can take, of course, on d6, but it's not so clear. At least I thought like this. So queen e6. Now if the king goes to g5, it will be rook f5 check. But there is no other thing, because otherwise rook h1. I thought this is easily winning. And again here I have missed the checkmate with the move queen e7. This was the best move, and then queen e4 check, and here you win the queen for nothing. I took the queen, but fortunately managed to win this, and this very, very long and exciting game finished with this queen f8, and now finally he's losing the d pawn. He cannot take because queen f7, and after a few more moves, this drama, of course c3, I have to make space for the king, and after d6 and queen a6, this was finally the end of the game. After the game, my opponent was so emotionally drained, because he was one of the favorites and he needed to win the game in order to qualify to become a national champion, but he was very upset. But I was very happy, because not only because I won, but because it's a spectacular game. and I hope you guys have enjoyed this game between young kids as well.